How old were you when he passed away?
21. I mean, if I'm just being honest, he was the bigger gamer out of the two of us. He really was. He was the enthusiast.
So on top of losing my grandmother, I lost all my portable video games. And I'm pretty sure that grief of losing my grandmother manifested itself as losing the games.
Whenever I look back and I'm playing Resident Evil and I can't help but associate Resident Evil with her. I'm thinking about her and what she would do or what she would say.
It's still a hobby that people can connect through and deal with different things, and everyone goes through grief, and maybe not everyone plays games, but trying to find ways to combine those things and get along with people. And you can say, hey, I did that too, or I was able to process mine through this way.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's your buddy Tyler coming at you with a brand new video here on My Retro Life. We're here on the My Retro Life podcast, and I'm here with Aaron, Seth, and Abby. And today we're talking about, this one's a little, the waterworks might come a little bit. We'll see. We'll see if we can control our emotions here. But we're diving into some a little bit more of a serious topic, gaming during hard times. And there's a lot of that happens on this channel. You know, I've opened up, you know, I'm kind of an open book when it comes to talking about my story with video games and my dad and just how much video games affected our relationship up until the time he passed away. I've talked a lot about my story on the show many, many times. You all know my story, but I really wanted to open up the discussion and include other people's stories here and some friends of mine that are here on the podcast today. And so let's go ahead and go around the table here. Aaron, I'll go ahead and start with you, man. Like, you have something you could share with us, you know, a time in your life where gaming may have helped you through a really hard time.
Whenever I was thinking about a game that I played in a difficult time, one that came to mind was Resident Evil 2 on the PlayStation 1. I know that might be like an odd choice because you'd be like, how could that be that type of video game? But what happened was my grandmother, she raised me. She knew that I loved to play video games. And in particular, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, I was playing a lot of Resident Evil. And what I would do is I would go to my room, turn the lights low, and I would play, and it would be like this scary atmosphere. So what my grandmother would do is she would sneak down the hallway when I couldn't hear her, and she would jump out at just the right opportune time and scare me.
Gosh.
And so I remember one scene in particular in Resident Evil 2, near the beginning, where you're in the police station, and there's a liquor on the ceiling, and it was just about to drop down, and she jumped and scared me, and of course I screamed, and it was great. But she passed away in 2009. And so now, whenever I look back and I'm playing Resident Evil, and I can't help but associate Resident Evil with her because her passing and the tricks that we would play on each other, I tie it to this series. So even if I'm not playing, you know, Resident Evil 2, maybe some of the more recent ones, or I'm thinking about her and what she would do or what she would say. Even though she wasn't a gamer, she still tried to be involved in that way, and I thought that was really special.
It's a really sweet story, and I find it really funny, though, that it's from Resident Evil 2.
Yeah,
you know,
right,
such
right.
a gory, you know, horror game, but something so sweet kind of comes out of that. And that's just the thing, you know, it's video games. It's the experiences that we had with people, family, friends. You know, I always tell people this. It's not like the game itself. Oftentimes that we develop this affinity for. I mean, I think we love gaming as a hobby, and we really love playing a game or whatnot. But I think for a lot of us, it's like that culmination of memories and feelings that really. It wasn't like just the game itself that created those things. It was the friends and family we played these things with, or the family that maybe gifted it to us. Right. You know, it all comes together. I think movies and music is a lot like that too. But yeah, that's really cool, man.
It's all about the context.
Yes, totally. That's probably the most heartwarming Resident Evil story I think anybody I've ever heard. Yeah. Well, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
Abby, how about you?
Yeah.
What do you got for us today as far as a story, you know, that, you know, maybe was a game or something that helped you through a hard time. I see you got Diablo there.
I do. I have Diablo 3. And I'm really excited to talk about this because it opens up a little bit about me personally. I have 3 kiddos at home. And when I first picked up Diablo 3, I had 3 kids that were ages 5 and under. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of things going on, lots of laundry, lots of dishes, lots of all of the things. And there were times where it kind of felt like I had a lot of things that were out of my control, and I could try to control it as much as I could. And I just knew that whenever I would log in and start playing Diablo, I had everything I wanted in my control. Even if I had a day where I didn't feel like the barbarian character, the super strong woman that I was playing as, I knew that I could log into this game and it would just be, I am in Nephilim with all of my axes and my swords, and I am so strong and I can demolish all of these characters. And one of the best things about Diablo, they have a lot of NPCs that will join your party. So I did a wonderful mom trick. So if anybody's looking for something to keep their little ones busy, take an unplugged controller, hand it off to your little one when there's somebody in your party, and it will keep them busy as long as that character is in your party. And I had the unfortunate news of breaking it to one of my older ones now. I said, well, just so you know, you weren't really playing the game with me back then. But you still were playing
Dagger to
with
the
me.
heart.
I know. But it was still a special mom moment. Like you were saying, it's all about the context. It wasn't necessarily the entire story of the game. It was that I could be enjoying time with my little ones at home, enjoying something that was just comfortable to sit there and do and have that moment with them. And even still, I'll sit back and think, my gosh, I hope they have fond memories of that the way that I do. And that's what I have to share.
And really, that plays so much into what I've talked about on the channel. I mean, with my dad. But it's interesting hearing it from you because that's the parent perspective. Right. And if he were still here, maybe he could talk and share some stories like that. So it's really cool that you're creating those memories with your kids that they're going to have like I have. For that's so cool. Thanks for sharing that. All right, Seth, you've actually told me this story. You've told me this story before, and it was really, really, really great. It's a really, I thought it was touching. So that's why I asked you to be on this episode to go ahead and share.
So I got my Atari Lynx in, I don't know, probably early 92, maybe late 91. And at the end of 92, my grandmother passed away. So we had just moved to Kansas City in mid 92. So we're still new to the area. We ended up having to go back from Kansas City to New York for the funeral. And so, of course, what does a 15-year-old do? They take all their video game stuff. Now, fortunately for me, that was I had used to take, and you may see it in the background, I used to take my Nintendo in the Z bag, and then the Super Nintendo came out, so I would take both and whatever games I could shove in to the case. Yeah. But this time around, I had the Lynx, and the Lynx had its little briefcase, and I was able to stuff in the Lynx and the Game Boy and everything that I had that was portable gaming at the time. Yeah. And on the way to my grandparents' house, and like I said, my grandmother had just passed away from a heart attack, either it was taken or it was lost, the case of games. So on top of losing my grandmother, I lost all my portable video games. And I'm pretty sure that grief of losing my grandmother manifested itself as losing the games, because now I had this thing taken away from me, and it was my first relative that had passed away, so it didn't really, at age 15, really didn't grasp a hold of what that meant. Right. And then going to the apartment and only seeing my grandfather, Poppy, he was the only one there. And my grandmother was not there anymore, and we were just getting like what had happened. We'd heard the story now, how she passed away and everything. So it was a few years before I bought any games after that. I remember, I think it was, I can't remember if it was FIFA or Jungle Strike that I saw playing at a store and thought that was just ridiculously cool. And that was around the time that the Sega CD, the second model, was out. So I ended up getting a Sega CD. But it was, I mean, for a person that had new video games in '86 when the Nintendo came out, and then games, 89 when the Game Boy came out, games, 91 when the Super Nintendo came out, and then the links in that, and then nothing for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I remember even getting my parents filed a claim on because I had pictures of all the stuff. I had the boxes for the stuff, so I was able to prove that I had the games.
Sure.
So I got an insurance check, and I ended up buying it like a stereo instead of games to replace them.
Okay.
So I remember that was like I'm going to do this now instead of games. So I got into music instead of video games.
Do you think that like your grief around that time and then associating maybe the games with the loss, did that create something in you that made you not want to buy games?
I think I kind of felt bad because I remember feeling bad about the games and not really comprehending the loss of my grandmother. And then it hit me that I felt stupid. I don't know how long it was later that I felt horrible that I was so distraught over losing the games.
Right.
And I should have been distraught about losing them and not even caring about the games. But, you know,
Yeah. Well, how old were you? You were really
15?
young.
Yeah, I mean-
you know, I get it.
and
Yeah.
it's, you know, a family member who you saw, and you understand, I really love my grandmother and my grandfather, and a lot of the games that I got came from them because
Yeah.
I only saw them once a year. You know, maybe once a year if they came to see us or if we went to see them. We used to go back to New York and spend the summers upstate New York, and I would bring before I could even bring the Nintendo because I think the TV we had was like a, you know, old school, you know, click,
Sure.
cluck, cluck TV.
Right.
So, but yeah, so having, and then it, like I said, it really derailed my kind of gaming. And if anybody who knows the history of my gaming, you'll see like there's a big like gap in the 16-bit era
Wow,
because
wow.
there's, you know, for all the Nintendo games and then the Nintendo 6 or the Super
yeah.
Nintendo games, there's just not very many of them because I wasn't into it anymore.
Right.
Because it just kind of
Yeah.
dissipated for a while. So
It's interesting. I get that. I actually really get that because I remember after losing my dad, went through a huge season. That was like the start of a huge season where I just didn't really care too much about games.
Yeah.
Also,
and then also he wasn't there to keep.
Yeah.
Oh, look what's new, Tyler.
Yeah.
Let's play with
Right,
this.
right.
I mean, how old were you when he passed away?
21.
Okay, so you're old
Yeah.
enough
Oh,
to have
yeah, I
a
was
job,
old.
but
Yeah.
you know, he was back in the day. I remember
Yeah.
hearing the stories. He would go and find, Japanese imports. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's not a thing that you found
He
in the
was-
80s and 90s. You had to know how to get them, and
You know, I mean, if I'm just being honest, he was the bigger gamer out of the two of us.
Yeah.
He really was. He was the enthusiast. He was the one that like read all the magazines and was up on all the latest technology and just like knew what was coming out and when and he knew I loved it too and we bonded over it. But like he was the one. So I get that for your story. I sort of relate to that because like, yeah, your grandmother, or you said your grandparents in general, but your grandmother specifically, like was that person who was the conduit to the games, a lot of the games and for gaming for you. And the same thing with my dad. So yeah, that's really, really, I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, and that's why I tell people so often, and so many of you who watch the show and comment, you share these kind of stories with me when I do like a real sort of, I guess, sadder episode where I'm talking about some of these harder things, video games and life things, you know, that happen. And so, yeah, I just thought it would be interesting, get us together, talk about these things in person rather than it just being me all the time talking about this stuff. You know, I appreciate you guys coming here and talking about this stuff. I know it's hard. You know, that's actually the topic of the video. But I think a lot of people watching will probably relate to it. And they always do whenever I really kind of open up about this stuff. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for opening up. Because I mean, that's the thing. So often I'll read comments and people are like, thank you for doing that. Thank you for opening up like this. I needed to hear this. I needed to, because I think so often like people, they don't talk about this stuff. And it's like really hard to, and I think once, you don't expect it on a gaming channel. You don't expect it. And I don't want to, turn this whole thing into just like a therapy session or anything like that. But I think it's important to every once in a while, just kind of, wear your heart on your sleeve a little bit and talk about some tough times. And this whole hobby that we love is so much more. I think that's the mantra, if that's the right word for it, that I would love to get across for everybody watching this channel is so much more than just the games. It's like, obviously games are fun. I mean, just looking at Resident Evil 2 here, I'm like, man, so many memories derived from that playing the game. But immediately, Aaron, if you don't mind me,
yeah.
like I look at this game and I think about the people I played it with. I literally, the first time when I'm looking at the case, I'm like, oh, Chris Hill. I always played that. Chris, if you're watching, remember Resident Evil, man? Oh my gosh, so many times. And then, of course, Brian, who's been on the podcast before, so many memories playing Resident Evil games with Brian. So yeah, it's cool. Any other thoughts, guys?
I heard somebody mention something recently on another video that sometimes we go back to play some of these games that we had such fond memories of, and we realize that it wasn't the game that was fun; it was the experience of doing whatever we were doing with whoever we were, playing with, or the situation around it and all the fun that went with it. That was what was fun.
Yeah.
So for those of you that have that game on your own, and sometimes, get your friends together. I mean, we had were you here for that? We had a game night,
Yep.
and we were playing N64
Yep.
4-player, and then took
GoldenEye.
pictures and everything, and everybody was like, this is what, and then somebody online made fun of our friend Corey because he was holding the controller the way he holds
Right,
it, and it's
right.
like, it's, that's the fun stuff. It's the getting together and playing games together. I know there's so much with gaming now where you can play people you've never met, you never will meet. They're on the other side of the planet in some cases, playing, Call of Duty or whatever, and so sometimes
it's
you
not
gotta,
as-
it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not as personal, I think, with the online gaming. Obviously, people can make memories from that. I don't want to discredit anybody. There's something so much more personal, I feel, and I think a lot of us feel the same way, of like getting together with a group of friends in the same room, just like where video games started in the arcade. It had to be social. And so, but that, social with somebody in the same room. And I think that's important.
Yeah. The one thing I'll add is that it is fun to look back and think about some of the retro games, some of the games that you play with your kids in Diablo with us and losing a family member. The same thing that we're talking about now, those memories are happening currently. Like the games that we're playing now with the people that we love, with our families. We're making those memories now. We might not be consciously thinking about it that way, but looking at it in the future, we're currently making those memories. And I think it's important to remember that.
Absolutely. I try to inject, some of the more modern home movies that I filmed of my girls. Abby?
Yeah, so I think the only final thought that I would have would be that if we're talking about gaming as something that we do during a difficult time, it just goes to show all of our different perspectives of what we had as our difficult time and the way we processed those things during difficult times. So I was struggling and I had a lot of things that were out of my control, and you losing your games, that was out of your control, and you chose not to play games. So that just shows how everyone handles things differently. Whether we put more focus into the game and it helps us get through the things that we're trying to, or we just take a step back and we go, you know what, I can't do this right now. But either way, it's still a hobby that people can connect through and deal with different things. And everyone goes through grief, and maybe not everyone plays games, but trying to find ways to combine those things and get along with people. And you can say, hey, I did that too, or I was able to process mine through this way.
So you hear that, world? Go out and have fun, because tomorrow it might not be that fun. Remember that.
Yeah, very important. Good life lessons here on My Retro Life. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hey, if you want to share some more, I know a lot of you who have already watched the show, you've already shared so much, but please, you want to open up, talk about some times that gaming helped you through some hard times, definitely leave a comment below. Let us know. We'd love to read it. we'll try to reply and stuff like that. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Catch you next time. If you want to hear an uncut audio version of this episode, head on over to patreon.com/myretrolife or click the join button right here on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Catch you next time.